Hello, hello, and welcome to the listening room where real conversations meet real solutions. My name is April DiPietro, and I am your host. I'm joined today with Jason. He's one of our care managers at the Camden County Partnership for Children, and we're going to jump into how we got here and what you all can expect from future episodes. So, why the listening room? All right. So, like I said, my name's April DiPietro. I'm the Community Resource Director at the Camden County Partnership for Children, which is the care management organization in Camden County. And Jason, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Jason. So I've been with the CMO. I think we're going on 6 years now. I am a team lead.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining me today for this first episode. Okay, so what should our guests and viewers expect from this podcast? So let's jump into that, right? So the vision, mission, and goal of the listening room is to help bridge the gap that exists in our community between families and kiddos and the resources that can help them thrive, okay? So why don't you tell our listeners what you said to me just a short few weeks ago?
I said to you, you know what would be a great idea? The CMO should have a podcast. You know what? Podcasts are everywhere.
This is true.
And I feel like a lot of families are going to be told, call Perform Care, get involved with the CMO. They may not know what that is.
Right.
So usually today, they're probably going to go on Facebook and look at the CMO. And they're going to see now that there will be videos on different things that we could offer. And then they know if they're ready to join us.
Okay. All right. Well, do you remember what the first thing I said to you was when you were like, hey, we should have a podcast? And I was like, that's a great idea, but how?
But how?
How do we do that?
Well, yes, I do. And then we decided to come and talk to Blue Light, who we utilize a lot within the Camden County CMO.
Yeah.
We're here today. It's gorgeous. The studio is very nice.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
And again, it's a resource that we use that I think there's a lot of families in the Camden County area that probably don't know who they are or what they do.
Well, hopefully they will learn, if not through this podcast, but through other channels and social media.
Right.
But yeah, let's do a nice shout out to our good friends at Blue Light. We're here at their location, like you said, in Blackwood. This would not be possible without the Blue Light team.
Nope.
And all of their expertise and this space. So shout out and thank you to Blue Light. We really appreciate the constant collaboration, but more importantly, what they offer our community.
Absolutely.
And that's just one of many things that we're going to jump into through this series of episodes. Okay. All right. So our audience, who's the target audience in your mind? Who are you envisioning?
For me, families, of course, and honestly, other care managers, because there's so many resources out there. And we have, our staff is great and they know a ton of resources. But for instance, me, who's 6 years in, I'm not going to be I don't know every resource. I don't. This is a place where I could learn just as well as families.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this can be utilized by even maybe providers that we place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. That's a vision that I have, that it will be for, parents and guardians, caregivers, but also other youth serving professionals.
Yeah.
And if time allows, I would love to be able to do, some episodes on what happens after the baton gets passed.
Right.
Let's say it's a youth that has special needs. Right. And it's going over to adult DDD. It would be nice to have an episode or two that talks about that transitions process.
Because that is a process. There's paperwork and all sorts of stuff.
But there's resources. Yes. Again, Blue Light, they work with adults as well.
Yep.
Of all abilities. So super cool stuff. Okay. One of the main things that this podcast is intending to address is the lack of knowledge and information of what exists. So I thought maybe one of the best places to start would be children's system of care.
There you go.
Right? And the alphabet soup that exists. So I'm going to give just a little breakdown to our listeners about children's system of care. If you would just bear with me for a moment.
Go.
Okay. So in the state of New Jersey, there is a care management organization representing each county across our great state. Like we said earlier, we are coming to you from Camden County, New Jersey, and we both work at the Camden County Partnership for Children, which is the care management organization for families that reside in this zip code. Camden County is one of the largest CMOs in the state of New Jersey, and we help families navigate the free mental health resources available under New Jersey's Children's System of Care. The number one thing that we want to make sure that you pull away from today's episode is, how do you get in touch with your county's CMO? It's a single point of access for the entire state of New Jersey. The parent or guardian has to be present on the call to perform care, which is a 1-877 number, and we'll put that on the screen for you and drop it in the posts that we make for this. But we want to make sure that families know that they can call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, and a human being will answer the phone. And they will walk the family through the process. And if the kiddo meets the clinical criteria for CMO services, then that family gets opened up to us. And if they're lucky, they'll get somebody like Jason to be their care manager. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about what the role of the care manager is?
So when we come in, you know what? The first thing I always want to do is sit down with the family. I like to hear what's going on, their concerns, what they think they need, and what we can do.
Okay.
So then I will explain wraparound, which is huge within the Camden County CMO. And we will look to provide resources and providers in the home to support the goals that we come up with.
Okay.
So usually that's the initial meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then we meet every, once or twice a month to see where we're at, continue to provide support. And I think sometimes it's just important for the families to be heard.
Yeah.
And they want somebody to listen, and we're here to help.
Yeah, they're a part of the process, which makes this way of our state addressing children's mental health so unique and so powerful, is because we bring in the family voice and choice to the process, right? Like, you're not just making all the decisions for the family. It's more of a collaboration. It's a conversation.
Right. So
okay.
They realize they're not alone anymore. We're going to build a team of people that are going to be there for them and the kiddos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you find that the youth that you work with are more engaged or involved in the process because of the approach that we take?
I mean, sometimes it's difficult because all of a sudden they have new people coming in.
Yeah.
But I see as time goes on, we become familiar faces.
Yeah.
And they look forward to us coming over. And, for instance, if I can, I'll give an example. Tomorrow I'm going on a tour with a family, and the parent asked the kiddo if they wanted me there, and they absolutely wanted me there.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm going to go. I'm just going to be there as support.
Okay.
And it was his idea.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. So when the family makes that call to perform care, to access services, let's talk a little bit about the two paths that family can go down, right? So if at the time of the call, it's an active crisis, right? And I always feel a little bit hesitant to use that word because people have different definitions, but let's be clear. A crisis for one family might not be the same crisis for another family. So it is individualized, like most things under New Jersey's Children's System of Care. So if it is unusual behavior for that particular family or that particular kiddo, it could in fact be a crisis, right? So during that initial call, schools know about this information, other professionals know about Perform Care, but I had said something earlier that I want to circle back to, and it's extremely important that parents and caregivers understand that no one can make a call on behalf of their child, right? Even if the intention is good, which obviously it is, but because these services are voluntary, the parent or legal guardian of that child has to be present at the time of the phone call. So if the parent is describing a situation and the person on the other line up at Perform Care, which is the state, feel like it's an active crisis or this child is at harm of hurting themselves or others, they will dispatch that county's Children's Mobile Response and Stabilization Services. In Camden County, that is through Oaks Integrated Care, and they will go out within an hour to meet the family wherever they are to help immediately de-escalate the current situation. The goal in that is to prevent kiddos from having to go to the crisis center. Because let's be real, they are not designed for children, right? It's traumatic in itself. Oftentimes they sit there for hours. And by the time they are actually seen by a screener, they're
calm.
not in the current crisis
No.
anymore. So they end up getting cleared
They're sent home.
we don't close the circle. So the reason or the root cause that brought Johnny or Emily or whoever it is into the hospital in the first place isn't really being addressed. So one of the jobs that I have at the agency is going out in the community and speaking with schools and other professionals and parents and collaborating with the family support organization or the family success centers in our county to make sure everybody understands what this process looks like, how to access the services, that they're at no cost to the family, regardless of their background, right?
Right.
But the main goal of all of these services is to keep kiddos safe, healthy, and connected in their community. That's the goal, right? So we go about that in many ways, and that's what this podcast is going to be bringing to everyone who taps in to join us for the conversations.
Yeah.
A little bit of insight, a little bit of clarity, meaningful, real-life conversations that we can relate to. But most important, our goal in this podcast is to provide sustainable strategies and solutions and supports from our community that can help families navigate their particular situation.
Absolutely.
Because no two situations are the same,
No.
right? So if mobile response gets dispatched and they go out and work with a family, typically that's the 8-week stabilization process, right? And during that 8 weeks, they'll link the family with an in-home therapist, right, to help with the mental health piece. And they'll connect with community-based resources like Blue Light or Say It With Clay down in Collingswood. But if the youth that was presenting with the challenge in the first place isn't ready in 8 weeks for a safe and sustainable transition to outpatient therapy, the way you and I would tap into therapy, then the baton gets passed to the CMO. And then that's where someone like Jason will come in and slow things down with the family, go through, why don't you talk about some of the, things a family can expect at that initial visit when you go out to the home?
So at the initial visit, I will again kind of review wraparound. I will, start providing resources. We'll discuss providers. Maybe, the family may have a certain person they're looking for, a certain type of individual. We'll try and match them up as best we can.
Okay.
I always explain to the families, like, listen, this isn't like a race. We're
Mhm.
going to do what's best. We're going to, if we need to take,
Treatment's a process.
right. If we're going to take, a couple months or maybe a year, it takes that.
Right.
We're not just going to leave.
Right.
So I think that kind of settles them a little bit because they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then again, I will explain certain things. For instance, new families will get a call from the FSO.
Mm-hmm.
Half the time their phones are ringing, they don't even know who that is.
Right.
So again, that's a place where the FSO can explain what they do. It's a great resource.
Oh, we're going to have a whole episode on it.
So I usually always discuss FSO in the beginning because again, I think they call and the families are like, I don't know who this is.
Right. Right.
So, and then usually I like to go back in about 2 weeks, see where we're at.
Okay.
And that's how we start.
Okay. So you help the family to navigate the process. So you do like an initial plan, right?
Yep.
And then that's what you use as like a guideline for how are things going?
Right.
Is this the best therapist? Do we maybe want to look at a different type of service? So you mentioned the FSO, and I know we're going to have a whole episode on their resources and services, which are fantastic. But just to give a little teaser, the FSO, the same way there's a CMO in each county and a children's mobile response, there's also an FSO, which stands for Family Support Organization. And their main goal is to support the parents and caregivers, right? Because our services, we come in, right? You're a care manager, so you're helping to coordinate services for the kiddo. Yes, we follow the 10 principles of wraparound and we bring the whole child family team together, which includes the parents. But sometimes the parents might have other concerns or other things that they're juggling and balloons that they're holding. And that's where the FSO comes in. So like Jason said, we'll have a whole episode on that, and we'll dive into some of the resources and services at no cost, completely free, community-based option. But we're going to just make sure that we inform all of the parents and caregivers about the FSO, because that's one of our really good system partners. It's one of our sister agencies under New Jersey's Children's System of Care, and they really do help us get across that finish line, right?
Yeah, very helpful.
Absolutely. Okay, so family calls, they either get connected with mobile response or directly to the CMO. The care manager helps to coordinate and organize all of those services while listening to the family. You had mentioned that in addition to the therapeutic services that the CMO can request the state of New Jersey to approve, you mentioned community resources. So what are some of the avenues that you use to identify your community resources?
So for me, I specifically work with a lot of DD youth.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised, a lot of families will tell me such things as they love music or they're listening to music. It helps soothe them.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly point them to Blue Light,
Place like Blue Light, yeah.
which they come here 12 weeks and it helps the kiddos kind of regulate sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I just talked to a parent the other day. Her daughter, who is a DD youth, still listens to her singing recordings that she did here at Blue Light.
No way. How long ago did she do it?
Literally 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
She still listens.
That's pretty powerful.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think we can all agree that music is universal. Really doesn't matter.
No, she
cultural
still listens. In fact,
yeah.
she wants to come back. She enjoyed
Can
it
you
that
blame
much.
her? I mean, this
No.
place is pretty cool.
They want to come back, so we'll have to, gentlemen, we'll talk.
Awesome.
And
yeah, that's great. So I want to take a moment to kind of point out, each county also has a resource net, which is a Google search engine, if you will, specific to resources for that particular county. So in Camden County, it's camdencountyresourcenet.org. And when you go to the site, there's a search bar just like Google, and a family can type in either the name of an agency. So for example, if you guys want to pause this podcast and go to the resource net and type in Blue Light, you're going to see their listing, and it will show you their logo and a link to their Facebook, social media accounts, and just a little bit about who they are, what they do, and the service they offer the community. So I had said earlier that I'm the community resource director at the Camden CMO, right? So my job is to go out into the community and not just educate folks on Children's System of Care, calling Perform Care, a little bit about who we are here in Camden, but also to identify those resources, right? Because our services, you mentioned, treatment's a process, and if it takes 6 months, okay, and if it takes a year, then it takes a year. That we're here to support the families, but the ultimate goal is a successful transition to community-based outpatient therapy. So a part of the work that we do, or that I specifically do at the agency, is identifying some of those sustainable natural supports like the blue lights, right? Earlier I mentioned Say It With Clay down in Collingswood, right? So if you take music and you take art and you take mental health and you kind of mesh that together, that oftentimes is a fantastic way to have a young person, youth, adolescent get connected to their emotions and feelings through an outlet that they can relate to, that speaks to them differently than just kind of like talk therapy. So spotlighting those resources and services, we do that using the resource nets across the state. So for here in Camden, like I said, it's the Camden County resourcenet.org is the website, and you can search by category.
It's my best friend.
Well, that makes me happy because I put a lot of effort into it.
I mean, listen, it's something. Yeah, it's a great site.
Yeah, so it's another thing we want to make sure that we're communicating through this podcast. Again, going back to those sustainable, functional resources that we can leave folks with, right? So we talked about New Jersey's Children's System of Care. It's free. Anyone can access. It's one phone number for the entire state, no matter where the family lives. We talked a little bit about the care management organization and what the role of the care manager is. We talked about community resources and services. What else do we want to make sure that our listeners and folks that are tapping into this first episode understand about the vision of this podcast? What is something that you, as a care manager, from your perspective, that you want to leave with our guests today?
I just want them to be able to understand everything that we offer. And, honestly, I think the best thing about the CMO is once you're with the CMO, you're not alone anymore. That's what you really want to get
It's
across.
huge.
Because, these families, they don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. I think
It's overwhelming, right?
it's a lot. I mean, especially if it is like an ongoing crisis.
Yeah.
Like, we've discussed, they may Google, but do you really know what you're going to Google?
Right.
So,
Sometimes it sounds great, and then you find out it's in California. Like,
right.
that's not going to help us.
So we're here to help. We're here to listen. And I think this will really provide better insight into all the resources we have, because I rather listen to somebody who is actively a part of that resource and learn about them than just read a little paragraph on a website.
Right. It's a different way to connect, right? Like many agencies and nonprofits, right? We're always trying to find ways to meet the people where the people are.
Yeah.
Right. So we know that we have hundreds, if not thousands, of more kids in Camden County that could benefit from these resources and services. And then the question becomes, why are they not connected, right? Like, how do we reach that audience when we know we have a resource and service that could be beneficial and super helpful? What are we missing, right? We have the website, we have, we're out in the community. Like I said, we'll table events, we partner, we're here, but where's the disconnect? Right. So when you had approached me and our colleague Amanda about having a podcast, like, my first light bulb went off, and I was like, what a creative way to kind of bridge that gap and break that silo, right? Yeah. But also having a way to share really important information in small bite sizes, right? So each episode is going to be 30 minutes or less. So quick, listen to it on your drive to work, or maybe you're picking up the kids. The goal is that it provides something that is meaningful, that is useful. And we're not just going to complain or, drag on about like all the problems that exist, because we all know that happens. But to actually be like, okay, I hear you, and I don't know if this will work, but let's try this, right? Here's a possible option, right? And that's the whole point, is to offer direction, not just conversation.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to do it. And, I think care managers now could promote this. Listen, do you want to know about a certain thing?
Yeah.
Episode 4.
Right. So yeah, I can't be any more thankful to Blue Light and, the ongoing work that they've been doing in our community for years. But also their willingness to kind of take this very unique idea. I think we're one of the first CMOs in the state to attempt a podcast. I know that the Division of Children and Families has a podcast of their own where they talk about.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. They do. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing our commissioner, Christine Beyer, a few months back for the New Jersey Youth Transitions Conference. So she got an opportunity to kind of speak from the perspective of the state for the population of developmental disabilities and where the state is looking to go for resources and services for that group of folks. But I don't think a CMO has ever launched a podcast.
Listen, this could lead to maybe there will be agencies out there decide to start maybe doing therapeutic podcasts.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool, right? Talk about
services.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be had here.
I think you're onto something there, buddy.
Have a provider discuss what they will, how they approach treatment, maybe, and that parent may say, "I want that person."
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really cool angle. We could also do potentially, maybe not this season, but maybe next season, have a local therapist come in and give like tangible parenting,
right?
like coaching skills or. a different way to view something, because they say perspective is everything.
There may be a family that's like, hey, I've heard of this play therapy. I don't know what it is.
Right. And have somebody come
Have
on
somebody
and talk a little bit about
discuss what they do.
that. Yeah. So here we are.
All right.
Here we are. The first CMO podcast coming to you from Camden County, New Jersey, with the help and support of Blue Light and their amazing staff, of course. And Jason, I really appreciate you having the idea and not being scared to just kind of throw it out there. Without you and Amanda kind of coming to me about this, I don't think we'd be where we are today. So thank you. Thank you for the brilliant idea.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what this is about, right? Real conversations with, hopeful outcomes. And you touched on something many times as you spoke, and I think it's important. The feeling of not being alone, right? Knowing that somebody out there is listening, they get it, they want to help. And that's who we are at the CMO across the state. But that's also what this podcast is for, right? To bridge those gaps and offer our community support in a different way that we haven't tried before. And maybe through this avenue, we can reach more parents, more guardians and caregivers to call that phone number to perform care and get the mental health resources and services for their kiddos at no cost to them.
Don't be nervous.
Don't be nervous. We're here to support.
All right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. And until next time, you're joining us at the listening room. Thank you.
Bye-bye.